Dominique Ducharme, ever since he became the interim head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, the spotlight has been firmly upon him. And the job that he's done with the Canadiens to this point in the Stanley Cup playoffs, we have to start asking the question about whether he will be the bench boss for next season. I think at this point, it's pretty much set. You can take the interim tag off of Dominique Ducharme. Barring something catastrophic in this semifinal series, I don't see any reason why Dominique Ducharme shouldn't be behind the bench for the Montreal Canadiens next season, unless Bob Hartley has some amazing plan that can't fail as head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, or André Tourigny, or, hey, Patrick Waugh found a way to mend fences with Mario Tremblay. Why not find a way to get back behind the bench? Anyway, and you know I'm fooling around here. I think Dominique Ducharme is the guy. What do you all think?
I mean, the interim coach title has to go. I mean, obviously he's deserving of the title of head coach, no interim stuff. Look, everybody was critical about, who he should dress, who he should have as line combinations. Everybody second guessed him. Everybody was critical. He stuck to his plan. He showed a lot of confidence in those players. Armia and Lankinen, just for two as an example, and he's given them opportunity to play. They bought into it. He's looking obviously very good right now after facing a lot of controversy and criticism. Very happy for him. I hope that plays out, that he's going to get that interim taken off, and he's going to continue to have some success, because he was facing a lot of bad music earlier on, in the playoff run and even regular season.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd say not only is the interim tag gone, I figure he's going to get, I would say, maybe a 3-year contract. Marc Bergevin is probably going to get a 2-year extension, which would give him 3 years, so they'd be tied together. When Marc Bergevin hired Dominique Ducharme, he hired him to be the next head coach of the Canadiens. He was the head coach in waiting. He knew he had to have somebody ready in place for the day when it would come eventually. Every coach gets fired. At some point, Claude Julien was going to get fired, and he wanted to have what he thought was the best bilingual head coach available, ready to take his spot. And he thought that was Dom Ducharme after what he had done with the Team Canada at the World Juniors, and he hired him. And from that day, he was going to be the next head coach of the Canadiens. He deserves a chance to have a full training camp. We've seen his system work now that it finally clicked in how well it works. He deserves to have a full training camp to really set in his system. He deserves to have a regular 82-game NHL season with everything that comes with that. So yeah, the interim tag's going to be gone. I'm sure there's going to be a contract involved also. And you think of what he's gone through this year, what we've all gone through this year with COVID. And here's a guy, I remember him talking about, he drove his car to the Bell Center before the Habs played that game in Ottawa, after when Julian got fired, and parked his car there. And then he came back a week later. When he parked the car there, nobody really knew who he was in Montreal, right? He was like an assistant coach, probably walked down the street, nobody knew who he was. Things changed quick. He comes back, he gets in his car a week later after the road trip's over, and now he said he sat there. I'm head coach, he's head coach of the Canadiens. He always believed he could get to that point, but that to let it sink in. So everything that he's dealt with this year, and all the pressure and second guessing from us and everybody else about every move he's made, he stuck to his guns. In the end, it's paid off. So he definitely deserves, and I'm sure he will have the interim tag taken off and be given the opportunity to have at least one full season with this team.
Yeah, he earned this position that he's in at the moment, and it would have been really unfortunate if the Canadiens didn't do well against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then they might have reassessed the situation and he would have been gone, because it wasn't a situation that he wanted to be in, to take over as the head coach midway through a condensed schedule with the season starting in January, then dealing with COVID hitting the team and having to play even more games in a short period of time, and not really having too much time to implement his coaching style. And it's great that the team is getting hot now and really buying into a system when it matters the most. And like I said, he's from Quebec. It's a dream of his to coach the Montreal Canadiens, and it would have really been unfortunate if it was only for a few months and then he's gone. And we've mentioned it before on the show. Look at Randy Cunningworth a few years ago, that he took over, put in a bad situation, and hadn't recovered from it. And Dominique Ducharme has shown a lot of promise at the junior ranking, and hopefully he'll be able to build off of this going forward and seeing what he's able to do with this team next year when hopefully things get back to normal.
As Ducharme said when he got the job, he said it's not the script he would have written or the way he would have wanted to become head coach of the Canadiens, but that's the way he did, and he's made the most of the opportunity. I think the other thing that factors in here, if he does sign a new contract, it's not going to cost a whole lot of money to re-sign him. Rookie head coach. If the Habs somehow go on and win the Stanley Cup, that might change. But it's not going to cost. You got to remember, Jeff Molson's still paying Claude Julien $5 million next year not to coach the Canadiens. This has been a tough financial year for the Canadiens, so they're not going to want to go out and spend another $5 million on another coach. You're paying $10 million next season for 2 head coaches. So I think Ducharme, that comes into play a little bit also in this scenario.
And you really have to give him full marks, because Game 5, all of a sudden the Canadiens got something going, and up until that point, everybody was going, "What is wrong with the Canadiens? They got no heart. They got no anything to offer to make it a competitive playoff type of hockey." And the coach obviously is held accountable for that. So, but since that point, I mean, he did something right. He pushed some right buttons, because all of a sudden they bought in, and they are going through the wall, jumping in front of pucks, and doing everything they can possibly do to find a way to winning hockey games. And the coach is obviously a big part of that. And what a turnaround! So full credit to him and the group back there in getting their best act together at a really good time of the year to have your A games.
And that's scheduled too. 25 games in 44 days. Hardly any practice. Injuries. So he was never able to have 4 sort of set lines because of the injuries. Now he does have the 4 set lines, and I think that's made it easier for them to stick to the system and make it work.
I'll just add, I'll end with this actually. I like the fact that Dominique Ducharme, through the comment you mentioned earlier about him processing the fact that he's the Canadiens, to some of the comments he said at the end of Game 4, where he acknowledged that being the coach of this team was very special, and he's recognized something special in his team. I like the fact that Dominique Ducharme isn't afraid to let everyone know that he's very appreciative of the spot that he's in, and the fact that he seems pretty grateful to be in this position. So many other coaches or NHL people in a situation like that might just be solely hyper-focused on the playoffs and all about the team and not want to put any attention on themselves. But I just think it's a bit of an endearing thing to see that Dominique Ducharme realizes the position that he's in. Jess, you mentioned it's a dream come true for so many people from Quebec, especially if they want to become a coach, to ascend to the top possible job you could have as a Quebec-born coach. It's the coach of the Montreal Canadiens, the coach of your hometown team or your home province team at least. And Dominique Ducharme, who was one at the World Junior level, was one at the junior level, and now is here at the professional level, can now say that he's the coach of the Montreal Canadiens. And regardless of how this run ends, I still think he'll, at this point, end up having the interim tag taken off of him. But the fact that he's gone on this run and he's had all these things happen to him over the last few weeks, and the fact that he's acknowledging all of that and how special it is, I think that makes him really endearing. And I think a lot of people might be willing to get behind his own personal story, which he acknowledged, his team has the opportunity to write their own story in the Stanley Cup semifinals, which, again, we're all just as stunned as you are. The Montreal Canadiens are in the position to write their own story. Let us know in the comments section what you think will be Dominique Ducharme's future with this organization. It's very likely he'll end up having the interim tag taken off unless something unforeseen or crazy happens. And let us know in the comments section what you think. And visit hockeyinsideout.com to check out our full episode and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we try to get to 10,000 subscribers